There we go. Right. So in today's session, what we're going to be having a look at is punctuation, because I find it's one of those areas where everybody thinks that they can do it, and yet sometimes simple mistakes are made. So as part of that, I just want to clarify what is expected of you in your level 1 and level 2 exams, and just give you some ideas, some guidance, show you where people make the most common mistakes. So hopefully you can see my little board in the background, but it says here, punctuation is important because it enables us to communicate messages clearly. That's the key word. It helps us make our expressions, our ideas, our thoughts clear. Without it, the information that we're giving out by speaking, by writing, is all over the place, and it can get very confusing. So the punctuation helps us to clarify and make everything nice and clear, and so that the person reading what we have written understands what we are intending to write. So at level 2, you're expected to demonstrate an understanding and a use of a range of punctuation. Now, I've written down everything that is needed at level 1. They say you must use a range of punctuation correctly, including, now at level 1, it's full stops, question marks, exclamation marks, commas, and possessive apostrophes. And at level 2, it's more than that. So it's those 5 basics plus more on top. Now, I'm going to go through each one of those quite briefly today, but then I'm also going to share with you, I have been putting together a list of the best revision websites, the best YouTube videos, the best worksheets and fact sheets. I might even do a little quiz with us at the end of the session to see how you get on. Nothing's on the display, Agnes. Oh no, you can't see my background. Oh. Bear with me a second. It should. Can anybody else see? I have a lesson up. I have some information. You should be able to see my face in the corner, and then a sheet that says about English punctuation.
I can only see your face.
I'm very sorry for you, Agnes.
Yeah, that's okay. I can go back to the recording after.
Ah, of course, of course. Well, if all else fails, I will just try and do it this way instead to see if this makes it any clearer. Sometimes technology is not my friend.
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Yay! Oh, amazing. So we can see it that way. As long as everybody else can see it as well, that's great. So I've just put on here a picture that shows us what the different punctuation signs look like. And I'm going to go through and explain how we use each one. And some of these I'm sure you will know, easy peasy, fine. And some of them we need a little bit of clarification on. So, for example, we have a full stop, or in American English, they call it a period. It is just a dot. And we use this when we write a sentence that is an idea or an expression. And when we've finished expressing it, we put the dot on the end. That's it. For example, we have an example on this slide here that says, Liz really didn't want to spend the holidays working, but she felt that she had no choice in the matter. So we've expressed one thing, and then when we've finished, we put the dot on the end. That's it. Stop. If, however, we want to make it sound more exciting, we don't just put a stop on the end, we put an exclamation, so the line and then the full stop. So this is when we want to express something shocking or exciting. For example, what I've written on this slide is, if you just write the words help me, there's no emotion in it. There's no expression, there's no urgency, there's no danger. If you put that mark on the end, it suddenly changes from help me to help me. It becomes an exclamation, a shouting, a raising of the voice, a raising of emotion. So that mark changes it from a statement to something much more exciting or dramatic. So it's just the difference between the dot and the exclamation. The next one that I'm sure you are, I'm very sure you are all confident with this one, the question mark. So question marks, anything that starts with any of these words, these are the key questioning terms. If a sentence starts with any of these words, then the chances are it will have a question mark at the end. So anytime when we are expecting a response from somebody, we use the question mark at the end. For example, who is coming to the house tonight? What are you doing? Where shall we go for tea tonight? And when we say them out loud, we have what's called rising intonation. And if you hear people with certain accents, it's much more pronounced than my own. For example, if you hear somebody with an Australian accent, they rise at the end of sentences and makes them sound like they're asking questions. So it sounds like they're asking a question. It sounds in certain accents, they have that rising intonation where their statement goes up at the end. And that is a really good way to remember where the question mark goes. After that, we have brackets, also known as parentheses. Again, parentheses, it's just a very technical word. I like brackets. Brackets is the word for me. And we use these to add information to a sentence without changing the meaning. For example, I could say something like the example given here, John, in his incredibly tired state, really didn't want to go to training today. Now, I could technically not include that middle bit and the sentence would still make sense. So you could say, John really didn't want to go to training today, but with the piece of information in brackets, it gives more detail to it without changing the overall meaning. So, for example, I would say something like, Agnes, despite not feeling well, still came to class today. Or Maria, even though she was having problems with the links, still came to say hello today. So we can make that statement, but we can add extra information into it in those brackets. That's it. And after that, I think this one is incredibly important, but underrated. So commas are used when we write anything in a list. For example, I always use the example of breakfast because it's clearly very important to me. I wouldn't say out loud, for breakfast this morning, I had bacon and egg and sausage and toast and mushroom and tomato. I don't say and all the time. Instead, we use the comma, just that little mark instead. And what it means is rather than saying the word and, when we read it out loud, we breathe, just a short breath. So you'd say, this morning I had egg, bacon, hash browns, mushrooms, sausages, chips, whatever it is, it makes it flow a lot better than if you said this and this and this. And we say this, this, this. It gives a better rhythm to our speech. And it also means that items are separated in a list. For example, usually commas are used, excuse me a second. Items are used in a list with commas separating them, but the last item in the list usually has and before it. So again, my breakfast example, bacon, egg, hash browns, mushroom, sausage, and chips. So instead of using and between all of those items, we use a comma, and then we use and before the last item. Now, I don't expect to be able to go through 5 different key parts of punctuation in 10 minutes. And if you didn't know them before, I don't expect you to totally go, yes, I understand all of those straight away. It's difficult. And sometimes a lot of using them is down to practice and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. I'm a big fan of learning from our mistakes. Now, one thing I have been putting together and I will send to you all is this document. This document is basically where I have found my favourite resources on spelling, punctuation and grammar, and I've put them all into this one document. So, for example, this first one, I've already done this one myself, so it won't let me show you. It's a quiz. This one is basically a quiz with lots of words that sound very similar, and you have to choose which one is the correct answer. And I wrote this, I created it. I've also included, this is a lesson that I used. So for those of you that speak to me regularly, you know that I have days where I teach footballers. So I wrote this lesson so that the young footballers could still do some spelling, punctuation and grammar, but I related it to things that they like. For example, their favourite football player is what I asked them to talk about. And for this, the way I started it was just a brief introduction explaining what verbs, nouns and adjectives are, the 3 main word classes in English reading, writing and spoken language. So I've explained at the top of this that verbs are words that are used to describe an action. So they are doing words. So you could say, at the moment, I am sitting, thinking, breathing, always talking, looking. All of these words that end in ing are verbs. They are things that we do. We also have adjectives. So these are words that describe things. So, for example, the most common ones are shapes, sizes, and colours. For example, Alex was short. Short is an adjective. Funny, there we go, another adjective. I can't think of any other good describing words. But anything that involves shape, size, or colour, they are the most common adjectives. The hairbrush was pink, hard, plastic, black, shiny. All of these words are all adjectives. The last variety that we're going to concentrate on here were nouns. So nouns are names of items, people, places, or objects. So noun would be hairbrush. It is a thing, an item, or it can be the name of a person or a place. So once you have a basic understanding of verbs, nouns, and adjectives, then it makes the sort of the formula of putting together English grammar and English sentences together a lot easier. It also helps with word order, which words go in what order, which, if you're learning English as a second or third or fourth language, can be one of the things that people struggle with. So we have verbs, adjectives, and nouns on here. And then, for example, I asked my students with this to find 5 adjectives describing words for their favourite football player. So they chose things like fast, skillful, clever, speedy, all of these words to describe. I wanted them to try to practice using these words as often as possible. So what you can do is, if you want to, you can access these materials and then you can change it and you can do these if you want to, this is not something I'm telling you to do. I'm just telling you that this is available if you want to. So you could do your favorite film or your favorite music or your favorite animal or anything you like. Then I asked them to describe or to list for me 5 verbs that describe, in this case, their favourite football player on the pitch. So I was trying to get them to find examples relating to, in this case, football, examples of nouns, verbs, and adjectives. And then I gave them I need to change this, take all this out. Then I gave them a short piece of writing and asked them to just have a look and see if they could choose the verbs, the nouns, the adjectives in a sentence. That's it. So that's an example of one of the pieces of work that I'm going to share with you all. As well as that, I have included as many websites as I could possibly find that give, I think, really clear, concise instructions when it comes to punctuation. One of my absolute favourites is probably the BBC. So the BBC, as well as being great for like news and TV, their website has a lot of educational material as well. So on there are English and maths activities that are aimed at adults. So this isn't English for children or anything like that. This is for adults. And that's what I like. So again, I will share this with you so you can access any of these links just to reinforce those activities that we're doing on the Atom platform. So when you're working through something on Atom, if you think you need more help, you can do 2 things. Number 1, you get in touch with me and you say, Alex, I don't understand this subject. And I say, okay. And I can either send you materials or we can jump on and have a one-to-one where we talk about it. Or I would send you links to this website because I do genuinely feel like it's one of the best places to find the information. So I would send you this link. So this one tells us about the different word types. And on each one of these, there is a short video, so just 1 minute long. We have fact sheets. So these are the sheets that give us information. And then we have, oh no, typical. I can't work out if I'm too fast with my laptop or too slow. There we go. So we have fact sheets that give us information, and we have worksheets. So if you have a printer at home, you can print these out and try the activities. Unfortunately, you can't write on them online unless you have, I think it's Adobe something, I can't remember. But they're really good activities for if you want to practice, you can just either download these or you can print them off. Or even if you wanted to, you could write them down, but I would find a better way of doing it than that. So yeah, these are really good links from the BBC. As well as that, let me show you a couple of other ones. So again, the BBC, this is their page on punctuation. So they cover not only capital letters and full stops, but everything you are required to do at both levels 1 and level 2. So that includes capital letters, a variety of punctuation marks, using some of them, using capital letters, using apostrophes, which I'm going to leave some time for because that's the one that probably takes the longest to explain, and then using commas. And again, we've got worksheets. So these ones are for you to actually, they're activities that you can work on. And then the last thing I want to show you is, do you know what? YouTube. It's great. I'm not going to pretend that everything on YouTube is good. However, there are a couple of really good channels out there where you can find really good. I mean, unfortunately, this is the first thing it's done is come up with an advert. Great. But if you have a look up anything where you search for the terms NCFE, functional English, it will come up with some appropriate materials. The only thing I would do is to check what year, how long ago they were released, just to ensure. Oh, it's always adverts, so many adverts. The other thing is I have been creating some videos as well, but a lot of these were aimed at some of my GCSE level learners. I will try to be adding my all the functional skills information on there as well, in case you want to have a look. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to focus the rest of this session on one thing. Apostrophes. Apostrophes are hard. Apostrophes have a very specific job in the English language, or in fact, two very specific jobs in the English language. The first one is to show that something belongs to somebody else. For example, this is Alex's pen. And to write that, we would say, we've got Alex, we've got pen. And to show that that belongs to me, we use an apostrophe and an S. That's it. So if we show that something belongs to someone, we use an apostrophe and an S. That's it. So for example, we'd have, oh dear, we've got Maria's books, we've got Agnes's watch, we've got Piroska's TV. I can't see who else is in chat at the moment. Oh, we've also got Alessia. We've got Alessia's handbag. So it shows that this item belongs to this person. That's it. That's what an apostrophe does. Now, many people, especially native English speakers, I think we get apostrophes wrong more than anybody else because people get confused. For example, if I said, I'm trying to think of a really good example for you of the most confusing ones. I think it's worth noting as well, if you have a look at the third example I've put on here, where I've put Agnes's watch, because Agnes's name ends in an S, we put the apostrophe after. We don't add an extra S on the end. So we have a few examples there. Now, what are the most common mistakes? Right. The most common mistakes that native English speakers make is the difference between dogs and dogs. For example, this word means there are lots of dogs. If we just have one, there is one dog. If we use that S, it means there are lots of dogs. If, however, it has an apostrophe, things change. That means that something belongs to the dog, like the dog's bowl. So it changes from one item on its own, no S's. If there are lots of dogs, we just put an S on the end. There is no apostrophe. So you would say cups, phones, hairbrushes. If we have one, it's singular. If we have plural, we add an S. If, however, it is possessive, if something belongs to somebody or something, we use an apostrophe. There's one last variation of this. I don't want to make it more confusing than it has to be, but it's not simple. It is not simple. If I put these just in a slightly different order, the last variation is this example at the bottom. I put the dog's bowl. This is one dog with one bowl. If we have multiple dogs, you would say dogs, plural, apostrophe, bowls. So if we have one item, there is no S. If we have lots of that item, we either put S or ES on the end. If it belongs, if something belongs to it, if it is possessive, we put an apostrophe S. And if it is plural and possessive, we put S and an apostrophe on the end. I will give a better example. So if we have, let me think of a name, if we have Mary. If we have one person called Mary, we would just say Mary. If Mary has nothing, no possessions, we just write Mary. If we give Mary a handbag, we would say Mary's handbag. What do we do if we have two people both called Mary? My husband and I have this problem. My name is Alex. My husband's name is Alex. So we refer to ourselves as Alexes. Or sometimes we go mathematical and we say Alex squared. So it's the same problem. If we have multiple Marys, we would say Mary's handbags. Now, this is possessive apostrophes. As I said, I don't think it's simple by any stretch. And it would take more than just one lesson for us to practice and to become comfortable using these on a regular basis. Nobody expects to be made an expert in one lesson, don't worry. However, that's one of the reasons I want to share the information with you so that you can look at different websites, you can look at the activities on Atom, and you can find the best materials for you. Now, I'm going to show you the other use. So apostrophes, these particular ones are called possessive apostrophes. Now, we also have apostrophes for contraction, and these ones are simpler. If we have two words and we want to put them together, we use an apostrophe to show that something is missing. This will make sense. Have not, cannot, do not. In normal parlance, in normal English, in informal English, we would say haven't, can't, don't. There are so many of these. Shouldn't. Oh. So what we've done is we've got the words have and the words not, and we have thrown them together at great speed. Have not, and something flies out. That letter O disappears and we get that little mark instead. The mark here, the apostrophe, shows us that something is missing. If we have the word have, in fact, sometimes I find it easier if I do it on my little whiteboard. Let me see if I can draw it on here, because it, to me, makes things a lot clearer. Now, I have to apologise for my handwriting on here, because I am writing with a mouse. So, have, not. If we change it to haven't, then the first thing we do is we make one of those letters disappear. So, so we get rid of the O. We put in our apostrophe. Oh, let me put that in a better colour so we can actually read it. And then it says haven't instead. So if we've got the words do not, the same thing applies. If we want to put them together and make the word don't, then the first thing we do is get rid of the O, and then we put in our apostrophe, and then we have the word don't. Again, I apologise for the standard of my handwriting. It doesn't look like that in reality, I promise. Give me an actual pen and it's very, It's very much neater. But I'm afraid on screen it's not great. So those two types of apostrophe, one is possessive, and one is for contractions. So one is where something belongs to something or somebody, and the other is when we have two words, we smash them together, something flies out, that little O flies out, and we're just left with a mark instead. That's it. Again, I don't expect you to completely understand everything about both types of apostrophes in this one lesson. Again, it's where I'm going to be sharing this information with you so that you can investigate this in your own time. Now, I would like to know if any of you have heard of a website that is used for quizzes, especially like education fun quizzes, called Kahoot. If any of you had children at home during COVID, you would probably be very aware of Kahoot. It's something that we use for, it's great. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share a quiz. Now, if you're watching me on a tablet or a laptop or a PC, great, because to access this, you would need a phone as well. However, don't worry, if you can't get on, I'm not going to, get angry or anything silly like that. What you need to do, if I put this in here, if you go to, you click on this link. Oh, it would help if I spelt it properly. Come on, Alex, you're an English teacher. There we go. Kahoot.it. If you click on the link in the chat, it will ask you, and in fact, I will do it as well in real time. So, oh, I was looking up a bread recipe. My apologies. So, Kahoot, Kahoot.it. The first thing it will do is it will ask you for a PIN code, which is at the top of the screen. So 4926870. Now, if you put that in, it will ask you for your name. And there we go. So I've just done that from my phone. It means I can ask you questions from here and you can put in the answers in your phone. It's clever. It's great. If anybody wants to have a go, I would love to give you a punctuation quiz. However, if nobody's interested in doing it, I also understand that as well. Would anybody like to have a go?
I need to take my phone. I don't have my phone.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. I just thought it was a nice idea. Sometimes if it's just, hey, Kate's on, amazing. Maria, I know you probably can't at the moment because you're using your phone just to listen to me. Does anybody else want to come in? It's totally fine if you don't want to, but I will give you a minute just in case anybody does want to join in. Oh, Agnes, I love your little picture. Oh, it's kicked me out. Okay, we'll just give it a minute, see if anybody else is looking for their phone or trying to get on. Give my voice a rest, give your ears a rest. And let me just make a list of who's here because I will make sure this email goes to you. Agnes, Maria, Lesia, Piloska, and Kate.
I don't know how I can get in.
Don't worry, are you using phone. Yeah, are you on your mobile phone to see me?
Yes.
So, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. I will show you this. If you can play the game, great. If you can't, don't worry. Any luck, Piroska?
I got my phone.
Hey, amazing. I can never find these things when I need them, when I'm under pressure, so don't worry. So yeah, you just go to kahoot.it, and then if you put the number in at the top, it will ask your name. And then what will happen is the questions will show on my screen, and then you answer on your mobile phone. I will show you an example. Oh, there's me again. Let me change this. There we go. Now I have a beard. That looks more like me, I think. So 4926870. When you've done that, it will ask you for your name. Yay, look at that. Okay, amazing. So the questions will show on my screen and you will press. So I will use the first question as an example. So on my screen, it says, can you see me? So what punctuation do we need on the end? And the pictures on your phone correspond with the pictures on the screen. So should it be a full stop? You press triangle.
Question mark.
You think it's a question? Okay. And then when I have the answers, here we go. So 3 out of 4 people got that right. And then what happens is it shows us who was the fastest and who got it correct. So let's move on to the next one. I like to go to the park. So should it be, I like to go to the park,
Full
exclamation.
stop.
You think full stop? Okay.
Full stop.
In that case, I will answer for you, Alessia. I'll do it on your phone. When all the answers are in. Okay, so I like to go to the park. Just a statement. We're not shouting, we're not questioning. Great. Oh, I'm winning. Oh, well, not me. I'm playing for Alessia, so it's not me. Look out. So if we say look out, are we shouting? Are we questioning? Or is it a statement?
We're shouting.
We are shouting. Yes, all of us got that correct. Brilliant. I love these quizzes. Okay, the next one. How are you? Exclamation.
Question mark.
Question mark. Yeah. See, I know for some of us, this may seem really simple. For others of us, we need practice. So be patient with me. This one says, let's go. Statement, question, or shouting?
Shouting, I think.
For this one, let's go, I would say, is something that we exclaim, something that we shout. We like to play. Is this something we shout, something we state,
Full
or
stop.
a question? Full stop. Amazing. Let's keep going. Is that hot?
Question mark.
Yay. Let's have a look. How many questions are there in this one? I think, oh, there's only 2 more left. Wow.
There's a question.
Wow.
It's shouting.
It's shouting. This one is an exclamation because you don't, wow. It's, wow. And the last one, the hot dog is good. Is this a question, a statement, or are we shouting?
Full stop.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Now, hey, in that case, Alessia, I gave your answers. So where it says my name, ignore this. It should say Alessia up there. But yes, nice work. I love these little
Oh,
quizzes.
thank you.
You gave me the answers, so that's great. Nice work. Now, one of the things that I can do is I can share other of these quizzes with you as well, so that if you want to practice some of these, you can do them on your own. So I love them. I love Kahoot. They're great fun. And they have very cool music. I like it when I'm in the classroom and I have the music on. Okay, so we have apostrophes, full stops. That was the last thing I wanted to show you today. So I get this one up and share my screen. Here we go. So I also, on this document, have found some proofreading activities. So one of the things that I think really helps us is being able to find mistakes. When we're writing, our heads and our hands don't always work at the same speed. So we may have lots of ideas about what we want to write, but things don't always connect perfectly. You'll see during these lessons, I will spell things incorrectly, but not because I don't know how to spell them, but because I have fat little fingers when I'm typing. So always our head and our hands don't always work at the same speed. So it's worth checking and reading back everything that we write before submitting it. Because if you find any errors, you can change them. In your real exam, if there are errors, then the examiner will find them, and nobody wants that. So this piece of work here is an example of a proofreading task. So this one says, Clarissa is thinking of adopting a cat or a dog. She has 3 children, a partner who works full-time, and she works part-time. So it says she receives an email from her friend. It is badly written. Can you improve it? So it wants you to go through and check the spelling, punctuation, and grammar throughout. Now, there are also no paragraphs. Oh, this makes me uncomfortable. I like paragraphs. I like work to be structured, and it's just too much writing all at once. We need to break it down. It's like if you have a sandwich in front of you, and the sandwich is this big, you cannot eat the whole thing in one go. You must have it in bites, in smaller pieces. That's exactly what paragraphing is. It's getting a big amount of writing and chopping it into smaller pieces. So this particular activity would be good if you have a printer, you can print it off. And then what I tend to do is I like to find mistakes and I use a highlighter. So again, this is just really good practice for being able to see mistakes in other things that have been written, but also when it comes to your own exams, you can go back, read your own work, and you can see mistakes. So for example, this one at the beginning says, Dear Clarissa, it's not a great idea for you to have dog or cat. Well, do you know what? For starters, we can see there's no punctuation on the end of this sentence. The whole focus of today, punctuation, and it's missing. She also uses abbreviations. So that should be the word you. She's missed a word out as well. It says, it's not a great idea for you to have dog or cat. It's missing the word a, singular for a dog or a cat. And then we also have the word to. Now we have we have 3 different spellings of the same sounding word, to, and to, which if I put them just onto the bottom of here, we have 2, which is the number. We have 2, which means as well or in addition to. And then we have 2, and 2, like I am going to somewhere, like a place or when you are writing a letter, you will often say to at the beginning of it. So this is an example of something called a homophone, words that sound the same but have different meanings and spellings. And in this case, she has written the wrong one on here. So these are great activities for being able to spot mistakes, to identify the mistakes, and then you can change them. But then it will also show you writing tasks as well. So for example, once you've found the mistakes, it says, now you should reply to your friend and give your opinion on whether or not, in this case, you think it's a good idea for her to have a pet. Now, another good thing with this particular type of question is that they are very similar to the exam questions, where you are given a situation or a scenario or a story with which you have to work. So in reality, you may not have a friend called Clarissa. It doesn't matter. You may not know somebody who wants a pet. It does not matter. Today, we've been working on a writing exam that involved skateboarding. We don't skateboard. It doesn't matter. We can use our imagination, and we can also, and I don't recommend this in life, but for the sake of our exams, we are allowed to lie. You do not have to tell the truth in your writing exams. If it says, if the situation is something like, write a review, for example, of somewhere you have visited lately, and all you can think of is, I don't know, Asda or Tesco, you can talk about Asda or Tesco being beautiful, incredible, or you can tell me that it's terrible. It doesn't matter. What we're looking at is your ability to express your feelings, your thoughts and opinions clearly. It's not how true something is. So this type of question is very common on the exams. It will give you that situation, that story, and they want you to respond. They do not care about your real life thoughts and opinions on that subject. They care about how well you can express them. So for example, if it says write about a place that you have visited that is incredible, I would say, I have been to Wembley Stadium. It was huge, and I went to a music concert, a gig, and it was very busy and very expensive, but very good. Okay. In reality, I have never been to Wembley Stadium. It doesn't matter. The exam board are not looking for truth. They're looking for how well you can communicate. That's it. So sometimes having a go at these questions where it gives you the story gives you a chance to practice your, I'm not going to say your lying skills. I'm going to say that it gives you a chance to become an actor or an actress. So you can pretend that you are interested in whatever subject it is. They tend to be very community-based questions. So it might talk about your local council, your local community centre, things to do with sort of, yeah, community, like village or town life. They're the most common sort of questions that we see on the exams. So that was a very brief introduction to the 5 main types of punctuation. Again, I do not expect you to understand and get them all instantly. It requires practice. More than anything, it requires practice, both reading as much as possible and writing and checking, do the activities on Atom. And if you want more practice, or if you struggle with one of these in particular, contact me. I will send you information. We can have a one-to-one where we go through things, just you and me. But yeah, have a look through all the things on Atom. The whole point of the spelling, punctuation and grammar is that it makes your writing make sense. It makes it clear. But also in your exams, it is one of the things you will be marked on. You get a mark for spelling that is worth 3 marks. Punctuation is worth 3 marks. And I think structure, so being able to put things into sentences and paragraphs, I believe is 3 marks also. Now, I found this wording from the level 1 exam board. So it says you must be able to use a range of punctuation correctly. Full stops, question marks, exclamation marks, commas, and those worst ones, possessive apostrophes. And then it says you must be able to spell words used most often in work, study, and daily life. Now, at level 2, for those of you studying level 2, this is the same, but you are expected to do more. You are expected to get more words spelled correctly. Whereas at level 1, you are allowed more mistakes. And there's no hard and fast rule about how many mistakes you can make. It's on a sliding scale. If you got everything spelled correctly, you would get 3 marks out of 3. If you tried, but you still got a few wrong, you would get 2 marks out of 3. And if you spell everything a little bit interestingly, you could still get 1 mark out of 3. That's on the writing paper where you are, it's out of 44 marks. And I believe the pass rate is 26 on those. So it's about 55, 60% in order to pass those writing exams. And you usually get 2 pieces to write. And out of those 2 pieces, you can achieve a maximum of 9 marks for spelling, punctuation, and then your grammar, and structure. I have spoken very quickly at you for 55 minutes. Please, does anybody have any questions so I can have a drink?
Yes, I have a question. How can I finish faster, like level 2? Because today I did some exercises and I'm thinking how to prepare myself faster for exam.
Okay, so I would say watch the videos that I've done of the exams so you can see the style of questions. They're on Atom on live classrooms and then recordings. And it says reading exam, writing exam. So you can watch me working through them. Apart from that, the course you are expected to study, I think it's 50 hours. Whether you do that very quickly or you spread it out is entirely up to you. If you want to finish it as quickly as possible, Kate, then that's fine. Work as much as you can on Atom and we will put you in for your exam.
Yes, and I pass thank you. And I pass to lessons and I'm trying to done third lesson and I'm stuck because it showed me like it's different date and I could say what it shows me. Sorry.
Well, if it's okay, Kate, I will let everybody else disappear and I will stay on and talk to you and find out what's with that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions before we finish for today?
No, thank you.
Silence. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you. Bye
have
bye.
a wonderful evening, everybody.
Okay.
See you later. Thank
A
you.
wonderful evening
Bye-bye.
for you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.